What's up, everyone? Adam back here with the 5060 Ti. That was the winner of the poll that I put out last weekend. If you want to be part of these polls where I take a kind of a glimpse of what people want to see and have them vote on what card they want me to use in the upcoming week, be sure to subscribe. That way you won't miss it. It's a really important part of my channel. I like to know what people want to see, so if you want to be part of that democratic process, please subscribe and you'll get a notification if you hit the bell when that poll goes live this Sunday. Alright, so we are on very low settings here on Ghost of Tsushima with a 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte, and we're looking at 58 FPS with 6.9 gigs of allocation on the very low preset. So visually, a lot to be desired, but I've played through a bunch of different settings and I know for sure we can get something that looks really good and is very playable. So let's just keep going. And I like this game because it kind of gives you that live preview. So I'm just going to confirm here we are at 4K, nothing's turned on, no upscaling, no DLSS, nothing like that, just DLAA and that's it. Alright, so very low gives you some nice shadows, and I love that like just instant visual difference that you get in this game. I wish more games did that, but anyway, I digress. Let's just keep going. So it looks like we've got about 7 gigs of allocated VRAM on the low setting, and yeah, we're just going to keep going through here. 54 FPS. I'm going to grab my horse real quick just because I want to kind of speed up my movement to get just get that extra little bit of pressure on the GPU. So yeah, as you can see here, our draw distance on these shadows is pretty bad. That's kind of terrible. But you know, look at our CPU. I mean, it's at 6%. It's fine. It's like this. This is just like begging to run better and faster with this current hardware. So yeah, we've got 52 FPS here. Let's just go over to the next preset. We're just going to run through the presets really quickly, and that's going to introduce something that makes things look a lot better, which is this texture filtering going from trilinear up to anisotropic, and that's 2x, and that's going to keep going up as we go through our settings. And that's going to make textures look better from angles. It's going to give the illusion of elevation and that kind of thing. So let's just keep going. Medium is kind of where things start to look a lot better in my opinion on this game. But we're at 48 FPS. We've got 7.2 gigs of allocation. And not a big deal at all for this card. Again, this is the 16 gigabyte. Do not get the 8 gigabyte. That is identical to this card, except it just shaves off 8 gigs of VRAM, which, you know, is super valuable. Just pretend that model does not exist. Get the 16. Alright, so we are looking like, yep, there we are. Our allocation's already above 8 just on medium settings. Okay, so 45 FPS, you know, definitely playable. This is not a fast-paced game, so something like 45 FPS would be something that I personally would be okay with. Again, all these settings are, they're entirely up to you. They're very personal. That's why I like to show so many different combinations of settings on this channel. So we're just going to keep going through here, and let's just kick it over to the next preset, which I believe would be high. So that see that texture filtering went up from 2x to 4x, and everything got switched over to high, and that's just going to make things look a lot more believable, especially when it comes to the textures, the elevation of those textures. So say a rock is actually flat, but you're looking at it from an angle, it's going to give that illusion that it actually has like some more dimension to it than it really does. It's a really nice thing to keep on high if you can do it. Alright, so 40 FPS, you notice our frame time graph got a little bit choppier. It's not spiking or anything, it's just not quite that like dead flat, smooth frame time graph that we like to see. And that's just got a lot to do with our frame rate dropping, you know, down into 40, 41. We're just going to keep going. We're going to go into the 30s whenever I go on the very high setting. And this game doesn't really have an ultra, but we're going to kind of make our own ultra because this anisotropic filtering can go up to 16. Alright, so this is the very high preset. Again, DLAA, no DLSS, no upscaling, no frame gen. This is 33 FPS at 4K. So, you know, you're really getting down into like just above slideshow territory. I'm glad it's raining because that does kind of seem to stress it out a little bit more than normal. But again, we're going to make this card totally viable at 4K. If you just hang with me, just watch to the end, because I'm going to give kind of like how I would play it, and it's going to be a good experience. Alright, so we're at 34 FPS. Now what if we just kick on some more of that texture filtering, just to kind of make our like artificial ultra setting. We're going to kick that on. We're going to kick on shadow quality to ultra, and you just kind of have to go through here and like just kind of pick and choose what you need to kick on. Alright, so there we go. So this is going to be our artificial ultra. As you can see, we're in the 20, you know, not quite 20, but low 30s still. And that really didn't hurt us too much from very high to our, you know, kind of ultra setting that's missing. But I don't want to fight right now. I just want to do a test. Alright, so just to, you know, kind of get back into it. So there's our 29. I knew it was going to drop into the 20s with that texture filtering maxed out. But this is going to kind of be where I play from with some DLSS and then FrameGen kind of turned on. And, you know, just keep watching. We're just going to get all the way through all these settings, and then we will see how we do at the end, because this is going to get a heck of a lot better. Alright, so let's just come over here and kick on some DLSS. Our friend DLSS is going to help us out. We're going to upscale with DLSS. We're just going to leave it on quality. And leave this alone. That kind of lets it do its own thing. We don't want to get into that too much. We want to manually control it just for the sake of this test. Going to leave reflex on off, and then we're going to keep our frame generation on off as well. Alright, so yes, I'd like to apply it. Yes, I'd like to save it. This game asks you over and over. Alright, so that obviously gave us 50, 49, got us back up into the playable territory for, you know, a story-based adventure game like this. This is probably, you know, what you could expect. Maybe a console to run it at, something like that. I don't know too much about that, but yeah, I mean, this is, you know, consoles are not going to be super high refresh. So if you're kind of used to consoles, especially with a controller, I think 45 FPS is perfectly fine, and it looks great. So, you know, with that said, we're going to keep going through the rest of these settings and really get some numbers for you guys who like to have like close to 100 FPS. You know, we're going to be able to do that with this card. Alright, so let's just keep on going, and we're going to go back here, kick on the balanced DLSS, yes, and as you can see, that is going to not do a whole lot for us, but it does get us, we kind of touch 50 every now and then, depending on where you're at, what the situation is, and DLSS still looks so dang good. I mean, it is just like, it's almost imperceivable from native, unless you like take screenshots and like zoom in at like 10x and compare pixels and all that stuff. Like, who does that? That's not what games should be boiled down to, in my opinion. You know, I think that the intended resolution from the intended distance that you're going to play it is how you should judge a game. That's just me. Alright, so we're looking at 50 FPS here. Feels really good though. We're just going to keep going and kick on performance DLSS and jump down into FrameGen after we go into the next level of DLSS, which I believe after this will be ultra performance. Yeah, so this is going to be just performance, not ultra performance, but yeah, that's going to get us over 60. And I'm going to tell you this just from playing so many games and doing so many of these tests by now. Performance DLSS at 4K looks better than native 1080p. Take that however you want to take it, but I would rather play at 4K with performance DLSS than on a monitor that is native 1080p. That's just me, because you're dropping the internal resolution down to 1080 anyway, and then you're upscaling it to 4K, and yeah, it's going to run a little bit harder at 4K with that DLSS quality, or that DLSS performance turned on. But man, it's worth it. Like, 4K just looks so good to me. You know, even with the DLSS set to performance, it's still just worth it. Alright, so I'm going to go to Ultra Performance, and that, in my opinion, is kind of where this game breaks down a little bit. It's just too much of an ask for, you know, that internal resolution to be less than 1080p, and then upscaled all the way back up to 4K. It just doesn't really do it for me, and as you can see, it actually doesn't perform as well. And you got some shimmering in your grass and that kind of stuff. And you know, I'm not sure what the deal is, but I think that a performance DLSS is like just the best setting for this title, just based on what I've been able to do so far. But yeah, the grass definitely has that like kind of staticky, you know, texture as I fly the camera back and forth, and it just doesn't look as good. But I mean, you're in the 70s here, you know. I mean, that's not bad. Again, at some points, performance actually does perform slightly better. I'm not sure what in the game is causing that, but just for what it's worth. But whenever you're at like big open spaces, absolutely the ultra performance does give you a lot more FPS if that's just your thing. But at a degraded, you know, visual experience. I mean, this grass kind of looks like it's been sent through like a retro filter or something. All right, so we're not going to mess with that. So let's just go over to our quality DLSS. So we're going to kick that on, and then we're going to go back up to DLSS frame generation. Going to leave everything else unchanged. So we're still on our, you know, fake ultra setting here. So our anisotropic filtering is set to 16, shadow quality is ultra, etc., etc. So visually, hell yeah. I mean, this looks way better as far as like the DLSS is concerned. And to be honest, this is probably what I'm going to wind up playing like. I'm going to see what the rest of the settings are, just for folks who are interested in seeing all of it. But yeah, I'm going to leave that 2x on, and you know, this is still DLSS 3. I'm not overriding it or anything like that. So this is still, you know, kind of how the game was intended to be, you know, set up and played. So this is 68 FPS and thereabout, you know. So we're just going to kick on the next level of DLSS, which would be balanced. And again, you know, if you like this kind of thing, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, you know, all the way to this point. If you stay to the end, it really helps me out. So if you are feeling super generous, that would be wonderful. If you stayed all the way to the very end of the video, that helps, you know, the mysterious algorithm help more people see my stuff. And again, be sure to subscribe so that you can participate in the polls that go out every Sunday on, you know, what card you want to see me work with the next week. So it's super important for me to get that data, and it's really fun to see what people like as far as like what they want to see. So yeah, we're at 72 FPS. This is balanced DLSS, and you know, this is you know, the 2x-ish frame generation. It's not really 2x, but it's, you know, it gives it a little bit of a bump. And up there in the top corner, just to pay attention to it, the PCL is the latency. And that's more important whenever you're talking about 3x, 4x frame generation. You know, whenever you're just doing the DLSS 3 stuff, it doesn't really affect it too much, especially if you have like a pretty good base FPS. And I believe we were just under 60 on this setting without the frame gen. So, you know, it does introduce a tiny bit of latency, but nothing you're going to ever perceive on a controller, which is kind of how this game, in my opinion, is meant to be played. I mean, it was for the PS5, you know, I mean, it was definitely made with a controller in mind. So let's just keep going and jump over to Performance DLSS, and then Ultra, of course, will take care of, you know, nice clean test here. We'll go to Ultra Performance after this. 77, 88, 87, now we're talking. Yeah, I mean, Performance DLSS is perfect. It looks so good. It's like so indistinguishable to me from quality even. I mean, you know, if you're taking a screenshot and zooming in and comparing pixels, I'm sure you can notice a difference, but like I said, that's not games to me. That's just being overly critical for no benefit to anyone. It's just, you know, the game is meant to be played from a few feet away, so that's how I look at it. Alright, so 90 FPS. And again, you know, ultra performance, he's going to give you a nice bump, but it's kind of where that visual quality falls off at. But we're going to test it just in case anyone out there just, you know, wants to see it. So there we go. This is 110 FPS. There you go. There's your over 100, your over 100 experience. Now, since we are on ultra performance, our base frame rate is way higher. And as you can see, that's reflected in the PCL up there. So even though we're running frame generation, our you know, post-compute latency is still in the 40s, which anything under 50 is fine. I mean, really, to me, anything under like 80 is fine. I'm not super picky, but kind of rule of thumb is 50 is, you know, about what you should be happy with, what most people should be kind of like, you can't really detect it, you know. But anyway, I'm just going to go through and say like how I would play it. So this is the segment that I hope you made it to. If you did, great. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I'm going to go with balanced DLSS. I've kind of already sorted this out. Balanced DLSS and frame gen is going to be turned on. I'm going to give you kind of a reminder what it looked like before frame gen. So this is kind of at 60 FPS. And again, I don't need to have 60 FPS all of the time. I just need to have it to be consistently around 60 FPS. And then I'll turn on frame generation, because that's going to smooth it out. Notice that little spike there and that kind of stuff as we approach the town. I'm going to kick on frame generation, and you're going to notice that that thing just goes completely dead flat. And that's really what I'm after. I'm not after like an enormous amount of frames. I just want that smoothness that frame generation provides. So yeah, this is exactly how I would play it. DLSS balanced, and ignore that, that was the menu. But yeah, DLSS balanced, and yeah, you're at about 80 FPS. It looks fantastic, indistinguishable still from native in my opinion. And your frame time graph, I mean, is just, look at that, that's dead flat. You can't ask for anything better. Alright, so thank you again for staying to the very end of the video. My name again is Adam. If you're new here, please subscribe. Make sure that you subscribe and take care of the bell notification. That way you can see when my polls go out every Sunday. And yeah, we'll make sure that we kind of all work together and show folks what they want to see. The poll goes out this Sunday, so if you subscribe now and hit the bell, you'll see it. So thank you again, and we will talk to you in the very next video. Peace.